I'll get into the in the frequencies in the. We're not gonna make it.
All right. We'll give just a little period for folks to come jumping in here.
For my Peter Brady.
Brother Thomas, what's going on there? Letting a few more people get on in the room.
Xavier, yes, we're live.
Good old X.
Welcome everybody that's coming on in. Welcome to our live presentation tonight. All our panelists, please make sure our phones are on silent.
Let's go ahead and kick it off. What we're going to do is start with the introduction. So first of all, welcome everybody again to another episode of PNL TV, brought to you by the collective of the DFW Alphas. So I first want to introduce brothers that have joined us today. So first of all, Bernard Andrews, president of the РНЛ Lambda chapter. And then I'm going to just kick it off to the next brother to my left.
Brother Walter Herring, co-host and vice president for the RNL Lambda chapter of Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Welcome to our live feed tonight. Kick it over to Brother Rivers.
Good evening. I'm Joshua Rivers, the social action chair for Beta Tau Lambda in Fort Worth, Texas. Happy to be here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin D. Jackson. I'm a member of Alpha Sigma Lambda chapter.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Calvin Whitaker, member of Beta Tau Lambda chapter.
Good evening. My name is Frederick Nickens, and I am the social action chair for Xi Tau Lambda chapter of Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you.
Good evening, brothers. My name is Brother Ruben Lael. I'm a native of Dallas, a proud initiate of the Beta Sigma chapter at Southern University, and a member of the Alpha Sigma Lambda chapter here in Dallas.
Really?
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
All of us run that back.
Brother Wilson again.
Okay, Brother Daniel Keeling, Alpha Sigma Lambda chapter, Dallas, Texas.
Brother Hawkins, you want to chime in and introduce yourself to us?
Yes, sorry, changed the internet connection. Hello, good evening. Brother Jared Hawkins, New Pi Lambda chapter, Arlington Mid-Cities. I'm the social action chair.
All right. Brother Wilson, can you still there? Uh-oh. Yeah, I think we lost audio for you. We can still see you though.
There's a unmute button.
We'll carry on, but yeah, we have Brother Wilson here with us as well. Okay, so today what we wanted to do was just give you a presentation of the collective of the DFW Alphas. Today's Alpha Talk will be about knowing your ballot, part 1. So the goal for our live streams for today and the next couple of weeks is just getting you ready for going polls for your early voting from October 13th to the 30th. We want to equip you with education on what elected offices are, what their responsibilities would include, and who are many of the candidates that are running in those races, and what we should be on the lookout for as we head to the polls here next week. So with that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Brother Lael to give us our continues our introduction and our call to action.
Good evening again, brothers. Thank you for joining us for this DFW Alpha Talk Live Part 1. This is kicking off our voter education phase of our Get Out the Vote initiative. And truly, brothers, let's just celebrate the work that we've done over the past 60 days, especially from July. We have hit the streets. We have been on the move. And to that note, brothers, we are to be commended for the amazing work we're doing, not just in DFW, but across the state, the region, and this entire nation. I think we know what our job is, and I think we have answered the call. So a couple of calls to action here locally for us in DFW. 1, we need you to call your Voteless People is a Hopeless People chair. Your Social Justice and Action chair, I need you to give them a phone call this week, because we need you to get plugged into the work that is in front of us as we are nonstop to November. We have some phone banking to be done. We have some canvassing that needs to be done. The census date has been extended. So brothers, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but right now we need all hands on deck. So do your due diligence. Don't wait to be called. Pick up the phone and call your local chair who is a part of this coalition as we continue to work together. Secondly, we want you to participate in Black Fridays. This is something that we're launching as a part of this coalition to promote our economic power, right? We have business owners and entrepreneurs within our great fraternity. So we want to start there. We want to learn how to keep the Black dollar circulating in our community. We want to learn how to close the wealth gaps in our community. And that starts with us just being more strategic about our dollar. And that is essentially going to help us grow our economic power, which pushes us into our political power as we move not only from voter registration to voter education through mobilization, but to policy change, right? And so we want to make sure we have a good hold and a good track on where our dollar is. So when we sit at the table, we can really have some power of negotiation. So those are the basic 2 steps that we need you to take immediately. We're going to use social media as much as we can. So when your chapter posts something, please share, please send it to someone who's not in our fraternity. We don't want to preach to the choir. We want to make sure that the information that is being provided, especially on this call tonight, as we're getting ready to break down the ballot, getting ready to go line by line and talk about every office. And we want to make sure that our voters are not just empowered, but we want to make sure that they're educated. So again, thank you. Congratulations, brothers, and continue to do the work of Alpha.
All right, Valera, thank you for the update. And for those who are following us that are not affiliated with Alpha Alpha, we do want you to engage with us as well. So definitely follow your favorite Alpha chapter for those updates about early voting, about the census, about what's on the ballot, and as well as Black Friday. We're extending that to everyone in all of our communities. So if you know of a Black business, let's go support them on each Friday from here on out. Just bring that economic dollar back to us, as Brother Leo so eloquently stated. All right, so next up, we're going to talk sample ballot. Brother Rivers, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Good evening again. My name is Joshua Rivers. I just like to give some information for people who might not know how to access sample ballots. It's pretty simple, whether you live in Dallas, Collin, or Tarrant County. It's actually really simple if you're in Tarrant County. We have it all set up. First one I want to give to you is Tarrant County voter lookup. You can Google it just as it is. It'll come up at Gizit. I didn't name it. It's called Gizit, it.tarrantcounty.com, and you'll be able to click on that. All it is basically going to do is ask you what your information is, your name, your birthday, and you'll be able to put in every single thing. You'll see the exact ballot that you will be using that day. That's Tarrant County. For Dallas County and Collin County, we have Ballotpedia and the Texas Tribune. The Texas Tribune does something very similar. If you put in your address, it'll be able to tell you exactly what you're looking for. So those are some key places that you can find everything you need to know, and we'll go into more details as to who's on those ballots. Thank you.
All right, and I would have to say that I'm just doing the Texas Tribune one. I just entered my address, and it really does give a good breakdown of each of the offices and the races, and it specifically calls out many of the races to watch. So if you do want to be more in tune with, which specific races you want to look at, which, knowing who those candidates are, this Texas Tribune link that Brother Rivers talked about is a good one, as well as Ballotpedia. My understanding is that it gives you information specific on where these candidates stand on some of the elections coming up. Brother Jackson, do you have anything you want to share on Ballotpedia?
I really want to push your county elections office, especially those in Dallas County. Dallas County elections gives you your sample ballot, which is a smaller ballot, and it's to those particular candidates that are running in your area, as well as the board bond issues that are there as well. If you're down in Cedar Hill, it's a part of Dallas County, you have trustees that are running the school board. So it's tailor-made with everything on there for where you live and your particular address. Ballotpedia doesn't go to that extent with the local issues as far as bond issues and everything, but Ballotpedia is an excellent source. If you want to know about past votes, if you want to know about their philosophy, so www.ballotpedia.com, and then type in your street address, and it gives you those elections that everybody will be voting on, as well as the local elections. But there are certain other things that are not on that ballot. So I will push that you would Google whatever county that you're registered in, go to that website, type in your name and your date of birth, and then pull a sample ballot here. And then it'll let you know what information is on your ballot. So whatever the case may be, we're in a session now where last day to register was yesterday. So we're in voter education mode right now. So we want to promote sample ballots. Know before you go. But it's so important so that you're not in a voting piece because you can't vote straight ticket anymore. We're asking you to promote the sample ballot. If you have a printer, print it out. If you don't have a printer, then write the information down and take the paperwork into you when you go to vote. Now take your cell phone in to the precinct and use that information off your cell phone in a technology-driven place. Can I use your cell phone in there? And we also can't wear any paraphernalia saying that I'm voting for a particular person in this voting where you go to vote as well in the polling place. So that's why we're advocating for you to know before you go, do your research, either at the Dallas County elections, Collin County elections, and click and pull up your sample ballot and get that information and research the candidates that you're voting.
Tarrant County elections too.
And at Tarrant County, but I haven't been on Tarrant. I've been on Tarrant County's website. I didn't know if it was that easy to pull up a sample ballot and get to that information. So we have to tell people and help them out how to navigate.
Again, it's Gizzit. I don't know why they spelled it that way, but again, it is Gizzit.TarrantCounty. Voter lookup. So it's all there for you. It'll be exactly what it is. And again, you can put it in your language, whatever you need. It has it in 4 languages. It is the exact ballot that you will see that day.
Excellent. And so we're asking for everybody to make sure you get on the social media pages to post these websites. And let's educate our community and get out there to promote sample ballots for the next 7 days so people can know before they go. And that will help you to get into the place, go vote. You already know who you're voting for, and you'll be in there less than 4 or 3 minutes because it's just a quick pick, done, and I'm out.
If you live I live in Collin County. So Collin County, you can go to.
I'm in Collin County too, so we on the same page.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what they do is you can go to type in, it's easy, it's really simple. Type in Collin County sample ballot 2020 in your search engine. It comes up, and then you click on. But the way they do it is to make it it's easier if you know your precinct. So because if you load, when you scroll down, you find your precinct, click on that ballot style, and then your specific ballot, like Brother Ben was talking about, knowing what yours is, will come up for your precinct. Because if you click on ballot style 1, that may not be your precinct, and you'll see all of it. And it breaks it down really simple for you. And also what they did here in Collin County is they provided a list, I don't know, it's going to be more confusing, of declared write-in candidates. They provided that list too of declared write-in candidates. So there's about another 9 other candidates that are running for president that won't appear on the ballot, but they're sanctioned and cleared to be write-in candidates. So they've added that as maybe a confusion piece or whatever, but they added that for education, excuse me. And there's another one, another site, League of Women Voters, you could go to. They put up a pamphlet about different issues and candidates, and they don't take a side. You know, they just give you the meats, kind of like Ballotopia does. So those are other ones that we can look at.
Yeah, another note on Collin County. If you do not know your precinct, you can use the voter registration search and look by your first name, last name, and your birthday. And it'll actually pull up your voter's registration card, and it'll tell you what precinct you are in. You can go to that specific sample ballot.
And where can you, other than your voter registration card to show where your precinct is, where else can you get that information to look up where your precinct is? Is that at Collin County Elections?
You can literally type in what precinct do I live in your search engine in Texas, and type in your address, and it'll come up with all of your representatives and what precinct, your school board. It'll come up with your address. Just type in literally in your search engine, what precinct do I live in, and it'll come up, and you just type in your information.
See, that's the beautiful thing about Dallas County elections. It's a one-stop shop, and so you don't have to go all these other things. Your sample ballot is going to be located. It also tells you as well who represents you and where they represent on all levels of the government, whether it's the federal, all the way down to your state representatives down in Austin, also down to your local elections from school board, city council. All that information is there when you go to Dallas County elections, voter sample ballot lookup. All that information is there for you. And it's not as difficult to say, because you live in a certain precinct, that these are the people that's going to be there. So that's why we're doing information like this, because we want people to know before you go. A lot of this stuff can be confusing. A lot of people aren't into politics and may not be as politically astute. So it's so important that through these next 7 days, and even within early voting starting October the 13th to the 30th, we have this time period to do this research before. And that way you can go into the polling place, vote, and then be out without any problems. So yeah.
Is this the right forum to talk about the mail-in ballot? Are we going to talk about that?
Sure.
Well, so I recently sat on a call with the Texas NAACP, and what they did was they sent out a sample. They sent out a letter from El Paso to Houston, and 6 weeks later, that letter still hadn't gotten there. It just got there a couple of days ago. So I'm cautioning people. If you're doing the mail-in ballots, hand deliver it to that one place in your county that you can hand deliver. Or if you can really go out and vote in person, please go out and vote in person, because the mail system is jacked up right now. It's no secret. And I would hate for your ballot not to get there by 5 o'clock on the next day after and not count.
Sure. I'm no longer a proponent of mail-in ballots. I never really was to begin with, but I'm no longer a proponent of it because we have 3 weeks for early voting. If you are an elder and you're not able to get out of your house, or you have a disability and you don't have a way to get out your house, then that is the only way for you to vote. Then by all means, use the mail-in ballot. Follow those rules. When you sign off on it, make sure it's close as to the signature that you signed when you register to vote, because they will match and compare that information and everything. Make sure that you might want to put a postage stamp on there so it doesn't go as bulk mail, so that it can be first class mail. That's another reason to ensure that it's getting there in a timely fashion. These are some helpful tips that we want to encourage our community and let them know if you're going to mail in a ballot and you qualify to do so, let's go the extra mile and the extra step to ensure that it gets there. And wait till 5 days after you have mailed it and contact your local county elections office and ask them, have they received that ballot? Because they do track to let people know that if the ballot has been received and if it has been counted. So you can Google whatever your Collin County elections, Dallas County elections, Tarrant County elections. If you want to mail in that ballot, contact them after 5 business days to ensure that that ballot has been received and it has been counted. So we definitely want to educate the community in this space and this time to let them know about mail-in ballots. But I would really, if you're able-bodied and you're able to understand there is a pandemic, I would promote early voting. Early voting Monday through Friday is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I wouldn't go the first 3 days, but maybe like that Thursday or whatever the case may be after the information has died down, 7 o'clock in the morning, I would be the first one in line and I would go early vote. So I can avoid the lines, avoid people going so early and cast my vote that way to ensure that I'm counted if that's the option for you. So I would strongly encourage people to do so and early vote.
I think Sunday is the best day to go. I go on Sundays from 12 to 6. It's open 12 to 6. And I'm going to tell you, I walk in normally and I walk out. Sunday's a hidden gem on voting if you want to go out and vote on a Sunday.
Yeah. And that's what Souls to the Polls is. And so October the 18th and October the 25th is Souls to the Polls. And that's another viable option for you as well. Saturday mornings, they're open. I believe it depends on what county you live in. So for those down in Houston who may be watching the podcast right now, those in the other outlying areas, go to your local county websites, and then you are able to look up what times the polls will be open through that 3-week time period. We're not promoting November the 3rd. We're promoting early voting. If we can't get it done in 3 weeks, then something's wrong. So set up your plan.
Yeah, you have 3 weeks this year.
If you were talking about going in person, there is county websites that'll explain how long these lines are. It's another option that you can do. You can check out which one you think is closest to you, as well as which one might be faster for you. Knowing that we can go anywhere, not just in the early vote, but on November 3rd, if that's the only day you can get there, you can go anywhere in your county. Do not forget that. It is extremely important for you. Get it in where you can. It does not matter where you have to go vote. It matters that you go vote.
Amen. And we need to talk about that too. So if I'm registered in Dallas County and I live in South Dallas, but I work in North Dallas, then I'm able to cast a vote out there in North Dallas, whether it be Lowe's Fieldhouse, whether it be at the Maverick Center downtown, whatever the case may be. You don't have to go to the specific precinct where you live to go vote. Or if it's in Tarrant County, if I live in Arlington, but I work downtown in Fort Worth, that I can cast my ballot down there in Fort Worth, Texas, and cast my ballot there. But you were talking about a specific thing around how do our mind determine how long the lines are, and we definitely want to educate the people about that. Josh, what is that information that you find?
The Tarrant County website has the voter line. It's a link at the same website that I just gave you, which is Gizit at tarrantcounty.com. Again, I can't even say it rolling off my tongue, but I promise you it's a well worth it resource. But there's a link that'll automatically show you which one's having the most lines. It is the very last thing you see in the blue screen on the left. You click it, you see which one you need to go to, and you find out which one is going to best serve you.
And how do you spell it again? So listen, audience, there we go.
Put me on the spot again.
That's what people on the back.
There it is. This information, Eric, is this information also for Dallas County as well?
Yeah, for Dallas County, correct. Dallas County has that option to where that you can go online and find the location that has the shortest lines, as well as you are able to vote anywhere during those 3 weeks of early voting and on election day. So I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity to vote early.
True. And then also with your sample ballot, so in case you're trying to go at lunch and everything, you just want to run in and run out in 5 minutes. I mean, if you have your sample ballot, knowing who you're already going to vote for, you can use these tools and mechanisms to get in and definitely get out. So that's more information that we want to promote to the community and let them know how to have a sample ballot, who has the longest lines. If you don't have time, you're just trying to get in and get out. These are tools that you can definitely use. And we're asking for everybody to please promote that out to the community, because a lot of people may not be watching, but these are things we need to get out to everybody who may not be in our circle of influence, to let them know about these tools so that help them get out and be an educated and empowered voter.
And I just want to make sure that we make mention too about the straight party voting. While that was taken away, if you look on your sample ballot, you can still vote for every party that you want, but you just have to do it on individual races. So that option is still available for you.
So when you brought up Harris County, I was just listening on the radio, and I don't know the really particulars. So if you live in Harris County, please go check this out. Lyft, LeBron James has teamed up with Lyft supposedly to give people rides up to $15 to that one location to drop off their ballots if they're hand delivering their ballots. So that might be something if you live down in Harris to look at, because there's 4 or 5 million people in Harris County and one location to drop off. So LeBron James teamed up with Lyft, and they're going to pay for up to $15 to go down and there to the polling place. So please look up that info if you live in Harris County.
Man, that's what's up there.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. I know Uber had Black Lives Matter. Now we can add Lyft back to the to the applications. One of the great things in Harris County as well that I did see, that they have 24-hour voting. And so we don't have that in our counties here, but they do have 24-hour voting. Whereas you have people who work in a medical district, who work in hospitals and everything, and their shifts are during that time span when voting is open and closed. And so they may not have the opportunity to go. Or if you are a first responder, or if you're a police officer, you're working a shift when the polls are open. So that's a beautiful thing about Harris County. But that's not an option for us. And since it's not an option for us, we have these 3 weeks. Maybe that's a day that your job is supposed to allow you to take off work so that you are able to cast your vote. So let's go ahead and plan accordingly ahead of time so that you can see when you can cast your vote.
That's why in Harris County, what happens when you have a bruh down in Houston running things, that's why they got 24 hours.
So we need more alphas to run for positions. Dallas County elections, Tony Pippin's pool, she's retired at the end of the year. So we need to write your county commissioner to see who will be the one that follow through with her. I think Brother Jamal Williams asked a question about super centers and where they're located. Also with the county elections office, you can go there and look up your vote. Is there a list of voting sites, super centers? Yes. Currently today, and not only can you pull your sample ballot, but you can also pull early voting locations. We suggest that you go to your local county elections office, whether it be Dallas, Collin, whether it be Tarrant, whether it even be Ellis County, for those people down there with the Waxahachie, those counties located down there, Ellis. You can pull voting locations and see where you can early vote at this time. So we want to strongly encourage you before you go. These sites are located, and you can find early voting locations on any one of your county election websites. And all of these are early voting centers, to whereas if you live anywhere within your county, then they'll let you know where you can go vote. All you need is your driver's license, your passport, or any form of ID along those lines. And one thing we gotta stress, your driver's license is just proof of who you are. Your address does not have to match what's on the voting rolls. That's one of the things that the confusion that they're putting out there, because my driver's license, the address on the driver's license does not match with what I put when I registered to vote. It does not have to match. All the ID is doing is saying, that is me. If you registered and I live on Allen Street, but my driver's license says I'm in Oak Cliff, then yes, that is me, Ben Jackson at Allen Street. That is me right there. And I am Ben Jackson. Here's my ID to prove it. They don't need to know all your business. They don't need to know you moved 5 times because you didn't have the rent or whatever the case may be. All they need to know is that you on the voter rolls? Yes, that is me. Get your
what do you say when they say that you still live at this address?
No. You tell them no. I worked in July at the runoff, and you just tell them no. So I don't live there. And what they'll do is they'll one or two things they can do. They can just swipe you and they'll look and see your name. And if your name is the same, and if it's not similar, they'll write on the sheet they have to write, they'll write similar name. It's not a big deal, really. Or what they can do is they'll give you a card to change your address right there, and you can hand it back to them. Like, it's not a big deal if it doesn't match. Don't let them make it think it's a big deal, because it's not. Like,
you're right. As I'm an election judge, so yes, it does not have to match. But what we are going to do is encourage you to change your address. Reason being is that when we send you out your new voter registration card and it comes back, you'll be suspended. So we want to make sure that there's no problems when you come to vote next time, because if it's suspended, then you are going to have to write your new address. So just go ahead and avoid that by getting that updated, and just let you know that your driver license does not have to be current. It can be expired. Okay, so if you have an ID, you can bring that ID with you. And we love we love to have driver's license. They're the easiest form validation next to your voter registration card.
Brother Wilson, did you do you notice? I don't know if you did the last election, but did you notice the new driver's licenses don't scan? We had to swipe those or write them in, because the new ones weren't scanning. So if you have the new ones that they mail to you, they weren't scanning. But if you went and got a new one at the DMV, those did scan.
Right. All right.
Brother Nickens and Brother Wilson, just for our viewers that are on that may not have a driver.
Somebody at the door.
What other IDs will suffice as far as being able to go to a poll if I don't have a driver's license?
In the state of Texas, your concealed carry permit works. Unfortunately, that works. If you have your passport, your passport card works. So some people have a passport card that works. Unfortunately, your state school ID does not work in Texas. So if you're a student and have that does not work. So you can have your non-driver's license. Some people have that little thing, like they have just a identification card that works.
Military.
Your military ID card, thank you, Ben. Your military ID card works. But yeah, Texas has a lot. You can go to the website to see all the list of what they call Schedule 1 IDs, I guess, that do work. But yeah, your school ID won't work for the darndest reasons.
But we are in a pandemic at this time, and unfortunately, the DMV is not really taking people to allow them to get their licenses and everything, their scheduled appointments, and they're backed up because of the pandemic and everything. And so a lot of people may have scheduled to get their license and they might not have it in time. What I would suggest that you do is to make sure you get that paperwork and show them. Then you can use like your voter registration card, you can use water bill, you can use a substitute to show that I have been trying to get this ID, but because of the pandemic, because of these types of hardship, I have not been able to have a form of ID, and use that as a way for you to cast your ballot and cast your vote. I wish we had Eric Wilson. Who else? Fred, are you an election judge?
No, I mean, I'm yeah, you are.
Daniel,
you'll vote provisionally then. If that, or you have to go through that and that.
I don't support provisional ballots. I support you.
I don't either.
I do not support anybody doing a provisional ballot. I need you to cast your ballot on an actual a vote. I don't support provisional ballots. And that's the beautiful thing about early voting, because we have 3 weeks. We don't have to wait till November the 3rd. So if you're not able to, if we still have time in early voting, you can go back to try to find other ways so that you can get the proper ID or get a way to cast your ballot. Only time I would suggest provisional ballots if it's the last day, November the 3rd, and you don't have time to go voting again. But I'm not a fan of provisional ballots, and I don't support it.
Testing.
So with that being said, just like Brother Jackson said, if you are questioning anything about your identification or what you can or cannot use at the poll, take advantage of those 3 weeks. If you have anything in question, go out on October 13th, and see what they tell you on that day, so you will have that adequate amount of time to make those corrections and be able to vote. Still doing early voting, if not.
Brothers, let me just say this as far as provisional ballots. A provisional ballot is absolutely the last resort. That means that you don't have any idea. You can't bring an electric bill. You can't bring something to prove who you are as a last resort. It won't work. Connections won't. It's just.
And so with the provisional ballot, then what should a person? What is a provisional ballot? Can we talk about that? What is a provisional ballot? So our audience.
A provisional ballot is when you cannot, when they cannot find you on the roll. You can't provide any type of identification, but we have to guarantee you the right to vote. So if you come and vote in Dallas, and let's just say you're actually voting in Collin County, well, you can still vote in Dallas, but your vote is really in Collin County. Mm-hmm. And let's just say, whatever reason that you are in Dallas and you are in the system, and you do vote a provisional ballot, you will have 6 days to go cure that vote. Okay, so after you vote, you have 6 days to go down to the election department, bring your identification and say, this is me, and your vote will count.
True.
Okay.
And I'm just not a fan of it because by the time you go do all of that, all the ballots have been counted. But I think with this election, with so many people that will be voting, so many people with the mail-in ballots, that we might not find out after election day who actually won an election, because there will be a lot of ballots that need to be tallied for us to truly understand who actually won that election. And so for those contested races,
that's a very important
connection. Is just terrible.
Cool. Well, that's an important point I actually wanted to bring up earlier, that we all focus on everything and the election being decided upon that day. Really is not the case, to be totally honest. There's always more votes coming in later on down the line. In this particular case, there's always going to be more mail-in ballots more than usual. So we have to be very careful on as to not just promote that, okay, whatever happens on election day or election night is the election. No, votes are still going to be counting, and we need to find a way to push some elected officials to make sure they don't try to cut off and declare victory where there's still votes being counted.
True, and that's going to be on the people that's running. There's their race and everything, just like with Stacey Abrams. She didn't concede it for a while because there were still votes that needed to be counted. So it's going to be up to them to push and fight for that right to understand that the race is not over. And I'm not going to concede it to every last person that's counted their ballot that night.
Hey, Brother Wilson, if you're there, could you, because you're a judge, and I can explain it, but I'm sure you do it a lot better than I can. Could you please explain what happens when a person moves from one county to the other and hasn't changed their address, and how that's going to affect them and how long that takes?
Can you repeat that question one more time, Fred?
Yes. Like when someone moves from Dallas County to Collin County and they haven't changed their address in the system yet, could you explain how that's going to affect them and how long that process actually takes for the system to catch up with them so they can vote? Say they lived in Dallas, but they live in Collin now. Are they going to be able to vote in Collin, or they still have to go to Dallas if the system hasn't changed? Could you explain that whole thing?
You're on mute, Eric.
Yes, sir. As a Dallas resident, you move to Tarrant County, and you have not changed your address, you are still a Dallas County voter. So until you do that, you just missed the deadline, which was Monday, to be able to register in Tarrant County. So that means that on that particular time period, those 3 weeks of voting, you have to come back to Dallas and you vote for Dallas election. But at that point in time, you can always fill out a voter registration card and to update your address so that the next election you'll be in the right county.
So yeah, brother, since we have a listening audience and everything, check your status today. Wherever your status says as of today that you're registered, that's where you're going to have to vote. Even though you live in Collin County and last week your voter registration says Dallas, please don't go to Collin County and ask some people for a provisional ballot and go vote. Please go back to Dallas County. And once again, you can vote anywhere in Dallas County and go vote. I'm an advocate for you to go to my church at Friendship West and come out there and vote as well. So we have PPE and everything, and you haven't been to church in a while anyway. So what a better way to go to the house of the Lord and actually cast your ballot and go vote at Friendship West. And they are early voting site and they are an election site as well.
Good news.
One thing we didn't talk about was if you don't feel comfortable going in to the actual election office, you can do curbside voting. You can call a number when you drive up, and they'll come out with the curbside voting. So if that's an option, if you have a condition where you really come in, do curbside, and they'll bring it out to you, and you can do it out there in person.
And let's talk about that. Let's talk about voting tips and safety parameters. And the counties have instituted a lot of different things in a place to make the polling place safe. So just like Fred said, if you don't want to go inside, then you can set up an appointment for curbside voting as well. Also, you could take your own PPE information, have your gloves, have your Q-tip, so that you can use to sign your name on the voting pad or whatever the case, and obviously pick your people when you go to cast your ballot. Also, you should have your own sanitizer, but there will be sanitizing stations at the place as well. They will have plexiglass. Your poll workers will have N95 masks as well. They will also have gloves as well. So it's a safe space. And one of the things we have to tell people, in the 1960s, when the civil rights movement, we understand that the people that cast their votes then could lose everything. They could actually lose their lives and everything. And they understood the power of the ballot, understood the power of the vote, and they could lose their whole livelihoods and lives, and they put that all on the lines for the future generation. So I do understand we're in a pandemic. We want everyone to be safe and everything, but we definitely have to ensure for future generations to come that we get out there and we cast our ballot in a safe way. That's why we have early voting. You can go at 7 a.m. in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning while people are at work, 11 o'clock, whatever the case you may be. There are a lot of tools to see if the lines are long, if they're short. Friendship West is a clean place as well where you do feel safe. You can go there, or whatever tabernacle of faith that you feel that might be an early voting location. Go to those places, and there will be social distancing. So we just want to promote that it is a safe space for you to get out there and to cast your vote.
And let me just piggyback on that in terms of what's actually going to happen when you go vote. Part of the reason that it's going to be a little bit longer is that we're going to have to sanitize everything that a voter touches. So when you come in and we take your ID, there's going to be a screen that you're going to have to sign. There's going to be a stylus we're going to give to you that you're going to hold on to sign. You'll use that same stylus to also to go to the voting machine to make your selections, and then you will deposit that stylus on your way out. We have to clean that. So everything that a voter touches, we're going to have to wipe down or ask the voter to wipe down. So that's where part of the delay will come in. And just making sure that such as places like Friendship West, we want to make sure that you're safe going and coming out the door for the next person to be able to be safe as well.
So then what I will promote is that when it comes down to voting, you probably want to allot a time period where you're not in a rush, not at a time where you're just trying to get in and get out. And everything and that's why the beautiful thing of early voting, put it on a day. Let's plan a day like that it's going to be an errand that I want to accomplish that today. So don't wait to the last minute. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate, and don't deviate from the truest course of rectitude. And just make sure you get out there and cast your ballot and cast your vote during early voting time. But one thing, please, we want to keep this experience positive. I'm not trying to promote delays because everybody has an obstacle and a barrier why they don't want to go vote. So if we plan ahead, then I think it'll be an awesome experience and everything. So I understand there may be delays. There's some where, my pastor said it was a long ballot, like 20 ballots. No, if you have a sample ballot now, you can be in and be out because you already know who you're voting for. So there are so many ways that we can help people to understand that this experience can be a powerful, short experience, and there shouldn't be any problems once you do it.
Speaking of, Brother Jackson, you just made a point. A lot of people are saying, or a lot of people are having different issues of why they don't want to vote. And, we're thinking that this is just an election for our next president. So let's kind of move on to that ballot, talking about that sample ballot and then who's on that ballot. Let's move to that segment.
Okay.
I start. First of all, and this is me. There are 4 people right now on everyone's ballot for president of the United States. There are 2 other parties, and I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but be an informed voter. They're not just Democrats and Republicans. There's Libertarian and Green parties too. So be educated. Educate yourself on what's really on the ballot, because the TV is only going to tell you about 2 when it's 4, and a lot of people will get confused when they walk in and go, who are these other 2 people? So if you don't do your homework, like Brother Ben was saying and everybody was saying, you're going to walk in there as an uninformed voter, and that's not what we need. We need you to vote, but we need you to be an informed voter, because that's what's dangerous. That's what makes us dangerous, when we are informed.
Right. So, actually, there's like 35 people on the ballot for president.
Yeah, so. Yeah, write-ins, yeah. But in Collin County, there's only 4.
I meant to express earlier, the views that I expressed today are not that of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated or Alpha Sigma Lambda. They are the views of Benjamin D. Jackson only. I don't know who them other 2 people are, but I know who I'm voting for.
And he does make an interesting point, because third parties have come in recent elections and actually changed the outcome of elections. You guys may remember Ross Perot a few years ago coming in and running as a third party person, and he totally flipped the election over to Bill Clinton in that particular election. So third parties do matter. Sometimes you have a candidate that's able to do that. We thought Bloomberg was going to do that, but he didn't do it this time around. But third parties do matter, and maybe moving forward in 4 years, we may see a strong third party. Ready. And I guess this section here, I guess, coming up right here, I guess Denard is pulling up. And the section we're going to talk about here is going to be the actual ballot and who's actually on your ballot, and hopefully give you a little education about what each of the offices does, and kind of give you a little background on the candidate, so you'll go in as a little bit more informed voter. The first election that we will talk about this evening, as he's pulling up the slide, if you just want to put it up on the slideshow, it's fine with me, Denard, if you want to do that. And that's going to be U.S. Representative. Okay, you want to go back a slide there, guy? A couple of more slides back. Okay. All right. Over 25. You want to? Okay. It's a little bit wider than the screen there. I do apologize for that. There we go. That's fine right there. That's fine, brother. Okay. Okay. There will be over 25 positions that will be on most people's ballots here in Dallas County. There will be a few more in each of the counties, depending on if they have bond elections or if they have city elections. But on average, Dallas County residents will see at least 25 elected positions on this ballot. Next slide, please.
And also, can you add to that, not just Dallas County, but a lot of different other, Tarrant County, Collin County, some of these races are on those same ballots as well.
Right. And here you see your 2 national candidates for presidents. The brother mentioned that there were 3 major candidates maybe out there, 3 major parties out there. Of course, to your left, you have Joe Biden and you have Kamala Harris. I hope I'm saying that right.
Kamala.
Okay. And then you have Donald Trump and Mike Pence. So those are your 2 major party candidates for president. We go to the next slide, brother. Okay.
And here you have your Senate race. This is the only Senate race we have here. Your U.S. Senate race, they do them in alternate years. Last year, you guys remember we had the big Beto race against Ted Cruz. This year, we have John Cornyn versus M.J. Hager. M.J. Hager is the Democratic candidate. John Cornyn is the Republican candidate. It's kind of a toss-up on who you'd want to pick. MJ was found to vote a couple of times on the Tea Party ballot. Cornyn's been around a while. He's a Republican. A little bit more about MJ Hager, not trying to throw salt in her game. She actually voted for on the Republican ballot for president a couple of years ago. Well, the last presidential cycle. And to me, that shows me that she's not a true Democrat. And for me, whenever you go in and vote for a primary, there's 20 other races on a primary ballot. So in other words, she felt strong enough that she wanted to change her party's vote in order to try to get out one candidate. So it's really your choice as to who you vote for, the devil you know or the devil you don't know. You can go
to Can we add something else to that before we go on?
Sure.
In these races, since we're talking about on the ballot, this race right here, they'll be in office for 6 straight years.
Absolutely.
6 straight years. And so it's so important when we get in spaces like this, because I don't know if they took civics out of school or whatever the case may be, but this race is for 6 years. So anytime we're looking at now, whereas we're talking about someone that's going to be on federal judges, that a lifetime appointment. When you talk about someone going to the Supreme Court, those are lifetime appointments. The United States Senator, which each state gets to, will be there for 6 years. And they are the one who affirm or deny anyone going to the federal benches or going to the United States Supreme Court. So whoever the president is, they will select the name, the Senate only, and the Senate only. They are the one who confirms them whether they go or not. So it's so important for our community to get involved in this race and understand the difference between someone in the House and then someone that's in the Senate, because they'll be there for 6 years. And currently we have one senator, which is Ted Cruz, that everybody's familiar with. He just beat Beto, so he'll be there from 2024. And then whoever wins this election, they will be there until 2027?
Right.
So yeah, they'll be there for 6 years. So it's so important that we got to educate our community. These are your choices. Go out there and do your research and see who you want to support.
Right. I really don't have a pick in that particular race. Like say, you make your choice, do your research, and vote who you feel is best for that particular race. All right, next race. All right, the next section we'll be getting into is the House of Representatives. They serve for a 2-year term. Most people are familiar with Eddie Bernice Johnson here in our particular area down south. She's probably the best known here in the Dallas area. Here in Dallas County, there are actually 5 U.S. representatives here in Dallas County. So she's not the only one, even though most people know her name. There are actually 5 here, and each district elects 1 representative. You can go to the next slide there, guy. All righty. And here I have a picture of Wendy Davis. I know that's a little small right there. She's a Democrat. She's probably the best known Democrat in this particular race here. She's famous for doing the famous filibuster here in Texas a few years back. You'll also see in those sections there, I actually put some of the committees and things that they served on while they were in office. You'll see the Veteran Affairs, Oversight Committee, Reform, and the Budget Committee is who the incumbent, the Republican Party, those were the committees that they were on. So just a little bit of information about both of the candidates, but Wendy is running in District 21, which is going to be a northern area here in the county.
And can we add a little color to that? So right now we're talking about people who represent you in DC, your House representatives. Everybody lives in a district. So when you go to those county election offices and we talk about pulling your sample ballot that's tailored just for where you live, then you'll see who's the person that's going to represent you in a House of Representatives.
Right.
Everybody gets one that represents them in that particular area. And every 2 years they're running. So if she wins this election, she has to run again in the next 2 years, which will be in 2023.
Right. Okay. You can go to the next one. And this is District 24, which is going to be what I call the triangle, which is right on the Dallas, Denton, and Tarrant County line. She's right in that area right there. And this is the candidate that I have posted right here is Candace Venezuela. She's a former member of the Carrollton School Board up here in Farmers Branch. And she left office in 2019. She's running against Beth Van Dyne. I'm sure you guys have seen the commercials. They're running them constantly. There's a lot of money being spent on this district for this particular office. The incumbent is not running for this office, as this is considered an open seat. They're pouring major dollars into this. Candace has been around just for a short time, and like I say, the Republicans are really pushing Beth Van Dyne. She's a super conservative person. She's pretty much a straight Tea Party type of person. Just giving you a little bit of background about her. Okay, you can go to the next one if you want to, or if you guys want to talk about Candace.
The winner of this race is going to be the one that's going to be working with Nancy Pelosi. And so you speak of that part of the government in the House of Representatives. So that's why it's such a contentious race and everything, because when you talk about the House of Representatives, the Democrats had a majority there. In the Senate, when we talk about people for 6 years, the Republicans with Mitch McConnell has the majority there. So that's why it's so important to understand who's in your district, who represents you, who do you want to send to DC to represent you as well. So you got to know before you go. That's why we're promoting these sample ballots. Next slide.
Just another thing about Candace before we flip it. She is Black and Hispanic. If you guys are wondering what she is Black and Hispanic. So.
And don't believe all those commercials they're showing on TV. They're trash.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, you can go to the next one. Okay, this is probably the most well-known person here in Dallas. She represents most of the southern Dallas area here. Basically from I-30 South. This is Lady Bernice Johnson. She's in the incumbent. She's been there since 1993. She's in her 80s now.
Don't do it.
I'm not going to do it, but those are the committees she's on. She's on. You'll see she's on the transportation and infrastructure. So that's basically the pass-through money that goes to TxDOT that comes back to Texas. And she's also on the space, science, and technology committee. She's actually the chair of that. You may not think that that's a major committee, but it actually is a major committee when you think about the funding that they bring back for NASA and basically controlling most of the technology companies here in the United States. Any regulation that comes out of her committee, and she has control of that. The Republican that is running is a guy named Trey Penny. I saw him out this weekend. He was actually at Friendship West. He's kind of a newcomer on the scene. He's a little bit aggressive, but he's actually put his name in the hat. And at the bottom, it's Eric Williams, not Eric Wilson. So make sure that you guys are clear on that. Eric Wilson sitting over here next to me, and this is Eric Williams. You've seen his name on the ballot for quite a few races here in Texas. He's usually on the ballot for something every time something comes around. So, but like Ben was saying, he's pretty much the incumbent in that race. And like I say, she's in her 80s, and I'm hoping that she's thinking about replacement at some point. But that's
you're going to do it. I know a lot of districts and everything. And remember, you won't see her name on your ballot unless you live in her district. So, and the same thing with Candace Venezuela and Beth Van Dyne. You won't see them on your ballot unless you live in her district. So it's so important that we know who represents us in DC. Which district do you live in? Like I'm in District 33. So it's important that you know that information.
Okay, we go to the next slide, Brother Denard. Okay, this is the next race. This is District 32. This is Swing District 32. This is actually Colin Alderett right here and Genevieve Collins. There's a lot of money being spent in this race also. He ran off a long-time incumbent from this area, which is Pete Sessions. He's actually down in Waco running for Congress now. He actually left the district because he knew he could not win this district. But the Republicans are taking a book out of the Democratic playbook of actually running a female against Colin this time, which is not something that typically happens in Republican races, but they're doing it in Swing District 32. And they're spending quite a bit of money in this race to try to unseat Colin because he's a first-time incumbent. So it's imperative that we get our people out there to 32 and push for him. You'll see some of the committees that he's on. He's on veteran affairs, transportation and infrastructure, and foreign affairs. You saw that a while ago when we mentioned Eddie Bernice Johnson. She was on transportation too. So those are really two big committees that we need to try to keep Democrats on and get that federal pass-through money back to Texas. You guys know how bad our roads are here in Dallas. So we want to continue to get that money back to Texas.
32, that's North Dallas, Garland area, Richardson. Those are the parts in District 32. And you've seen her commercials too, which are trash as well. But so do your own research and make sure you look for the names on the ballot. And like I said, these views are not representative of Alpha or Alpha Sigma Lambda, but they are my views. I used to live in District 32 and I'm a supporter of Colin Allred. So look for that name on the ballot.
Right. And he's one of the rising stars in the Democratic Party. It's somebody we really want to try to keep around and grow for bigger offices, maybe in the future. So, okay. Next slide, sir. Okay, this is right on the Dallas-Tarrant County line right here. This is Mark Vesey. This is one of those races that we really need to keep an eye on. He's running against Fabian Cordova Vasquez of the Republican Party. But you'll see at the bottom, when we were mentioning third parties a while back, you'll see the name Carlos Quintanilla at the bottom down there. And this is what you call a muck race. It's just an old term that they use. Basically, when you run two people against one person is what they're basically doing. This track, we call it a muck race. Muck. Okay, not the F word, but anyway, what happens with this particular race? What they're trying to do is split the Democratic vote in order to put an individual in the office. Carlos actually ran in the primary against Mark Vesey and lost. So at this point, sometimes people's agenda is bigger than what's best for the party. And that's what's happening in this particular race. So what they hope to do is for Carlos to pull votes from Mark in order to put Vasquez in office. So this is one of those things that we really have to be cognizant of and actually push Mark back into the office right there. He's on the important energy and commerce committees and the committee on small businesses. If you know anything about Mark, he's actually pushed small businesses really hard by actually just going out and experiencing day to day what small businesses want. And he actually is very responsive to his district. So if you know anybody that lives on that Dallas-Tarrant County line, you really want to push them out to the ballot this time around. You got a question there? I see you got your hand up there.
Yes, brothers. I just wanted to interject for just a second. I want to remind the people that these are not the views of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We are nonpartisan. These are people who individual brothers or members of society might feel a certain way about. So this conversation as Alpha Men is
we are nonpartisan.
So I just wanted to remind
very nonpartisan, and like I say, these are things that we kind of know about some of the candidates, but like I said, they are not inflection of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity or any of the chapters involved, Alpha Sigma Lambda, Rho Nu Lambda, Beta Tau Lambda,
Nu Pi
Lambda, or any of the chapters here. So
Xi Tau Lambda as well.
Xi Tau Lambda as well. These are
because we do have people who have a political persuasion opposite of ours as well. And so when we give this information, we really should be down the middle of the road and everything, and not just push one person over another or anything.
Absolutely.
Really, we should just be providing the information for them. And absolutely. I want people to know the information and do your own research. It's so important. And everything. I do have people that I like to support who I think can use spaces and use this platform, but we really need to ensure that people understand this is just our personal opinion and not views are reflective of our national organization or anything like that.
Absolutely. Okay, next race, sir.
So let's try to keep it straightforward like that.
Alrighty. All right, just a little bit about Tarrant County. Over in District 94, this is Alicia Simmons. She's actually running for the Texas House of Representatives over in Tarrant County. I got a chance to meet her over at one of the rallies that we had at the FUBU Mobile a few weeks ago. She is running on the ballot in the general election. So District 94, just someone to keep an eyeball on over in Tarrant County. You go to the next one. The next one, okay. And this is Nicole Collier. She's actually going to be running in District 95 over in Tarrant County. She has a really active ballot that she wants to bring back to Austin. We're talking about State House now. So these are 2-year races that we're talking about right now. This is the Texas House Representative. They are there for 2 years. She's been there since 2003, and she's going to be the new chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus if she is reelected coming into the next session. So someone to be aware of your ballot if you're in District 95 over in Tarrant County. Next.
So you jumped. So we're done with people that represent us in DC. Now we're down to people who represent us down in Austin.
Now we're back in Austin. Yes.
We're in Austin. These are your House, where you have a House representative down there, and you also have a Senate representative that represents you down in Austin, Texas.
Right. And these are the actual House representatives.
House representatives, they run every 2 years as well. Your Senate district runs every 4.
Right. Exactly. Okay. We can go to the next one. Okay. We're actually crossing over into Dallas now. This is Jasmine Crockett. She just won District 100. I just want to make you guys aware of her. She's running unopposed in her area, and she will be on the ballot for some of y'all here in Dallas, particularly if you live downtown. So you still need to check her name off. You still got to do that, but she will be representing 100 coming into the next session, District 100.
She's a non-contested race.
Non-contested race. And here in Dallas, you have 14 races here in Dallas that we're actually going to talk about. So, alrighty. And go ahead, go to the next one there. And this is Chris Turner. He's going to be running for the Democratic Party in District 100. He's also on the ballot by himself. And just let you know that the committees he's on higher education. He's also on insurance, which is very rare for a Democrat to be on. We really do need more Democrats on the insurance committee. If you guys don't like your insurance rates, there's a reason why. So they really don't let us on that committee. And he's also on redistricting. So just making you aware, he's going to be in District 101. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, this is actually a contested race right here. The picture you see is Ana Ramos, and she is an incumbent, but she is running against a very strong opponent, which is Linda Coop. Linda has been around quite a bit, so Eric just over here just made a big sound. But this is a race that conceivably could be flipped here in Dallas. Linda's been around. She's been very active here within Dallas. You'll see some of the committees that Anna is on there. She's on natural resources, and I can't read the other one there. The a little bit small, can't read it, but like I say, this is a contested race. This is one that this is going to be a race that's going to be dependent on turnout.
It says Defense and Veteran Affairs.
Okay, sorry, couldn't read it right here, guys. But yes, I'm using Eric's computers here. So, but yes, that's the contested race, and that's going to be a one that's going to need heavy Democratic turnout if they want to keep that particular seat. Just to give you a little background on the House and what's going on within the House, in order for the Democrats to actually flip the House, they actually need to flip 9 seats down in Austin in order to take control of the House. If they're able to flip the Texas House, then they're able to control the agenda of the House and actually push forward bills and put people in committee chairs and push the agenda of the Democratic Party. Neither here nor there, but just giving you why it's really important to really push the Texas House this time around.
And these are the people that represent you down in Austin. Can't stress that enough, because a lot of people, Dan, you're into politics. and everybody on this call is into politics. But when you go to the average listener, this is not like football or sports where they know the individuals and what they stand on and who they represent and where they represent. So it's important. If you live in District 102, once you go pull your sample ballot, you'll see the various names and you get to choose who you want. But definitely want to research and know which districts you stay in so you can affect the change in the race that you live in. When we looked at Breonna Taylor and we talked about Daniel Cameron and how he was the state attorney general, which means everybody that lived in this Commonwealth of Kentucky voted for his race and everything. And everybody was upset when he came back with the decision that he would not bring charges against those cops. So this is why local politics matters. This is why we have educational forums like this. So it's so important because these people are going to go down to Austin next year and they're going to set an agenda for 2 years because they only meet for 150 days unless a special election happens. And so we want to ensure that our values and our views are covered when they go to meet to set laws for our land over the state of Texas for the next 2 years. And it all matters with this election that's coming up. So it's so important that you get your sample ballot. We talked about ballotpedia.com. You can see what these people represent. And then you can choose wisely on who we need to be putting in office to reflect the views and the values and the morals of our people in our community.
Right. And Linda Coop, she's been around, like I said, she was an 8-year member of the Dallas City Council and a 2-time state representative before from Dallas. So, like I say, they're really invested in this race in 102, and this is a race that could be flipped. And like I say, it's going to take a real heavy Democratic turnout to keep this particular seat. Okay.
So I guess you're a Democrat.
No, I'm just saying that for her, that they're spending a lot of money in a race that they normally wouldn't spend the money in. So
that's good.
Yeah. Okay, go to the next one, 103. Okay. And this is Rafael Anchia. He's been on the Energy Committee, the House Administration Committee, and the International Relations Committee. He's running against a guy named Jerry Fortenberry. I couldn't find anything on Jerry. It's not that I didn't want to put anything on him. Rafael is a Democrat. I pull information from Ballotpedia and from Texas Tribune, and he didn't have information on either one of them. So I try to be fair and impartial, but he didn't have any information out there before. So it happens that way sometimes. But these are Rafael is a rising star in the Democratic side of the party, and you hear a lot about him and some of his activities down in Austin. You go to the next one. Okay, this is going to be another individual seat where there's not a contestant, and like I say, incumbent is going to be Jessica Gonzalez, and she was on a criminal jurisprudence committee and an urban affairs committee. You can go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, this is going to be another contested race right here, which is going to be Terry Mesa versus Garrison Hernandez. It's really a toss-up race. There's a little bit of money being spent on this one. I know Terry personally. I do not know Garrison. With COVID and everything, we really wasn't able to get out and really meet some of these people like we normally would be able to meet. But she is on the calendars committee, which is a very, very important committee. The reason why I put the committees on here is because I want people to see what your representatives are actually doing in Austin and explain some of these committees to you. The resolution calendars committees, they actually set the actual calendar when people are able to bring stuff from committees onto the floor to actually be voted on.
Wow.
So that's a very important committee to be on. And if you control the House, then you control the calendars committee because you're able to choose the chair to actually move things forward. So you want to try to put your people on those committees. So, all right. And you can go to the next race there. Okay. This race right here, I don't know much about. I don't know much about Jennifer, and I don't know much about Jared. I do know Jared was the incumbent in this particular race. And the thing that I do know about this particular race that is kind of different for me is he is the chairman of the Urban Affairs Committee here in Texas. I know that sounds wild, but yeah, he is the chairman of that committee. But when your party's in charge, you make those decisions. So he was in charge of the Urban Affairs Committee. So
I'm gonna have to find out who he is and go write him.
Yeah, you might want to do that, but I don't know much about him, and I don't know much about the race in 106. But do your research. But those are your two individuals that are running. Go to 107, please. Next race, sir. Okay. This is a go back to that last slide. Last slide, 106. The last slide, sir. The one you just passed. Okay. I want to give you a little bit of demographic information about that last race I just talked about between Jennifer and Jared. This is kind of a breakdown of the voter population in that particular district. Is 67% white, 25% Black, Hispanic, 7.2% other. By ethnicity, if you were to break that down, it's 83.2 over 16.8. And the average age is over 68% is over 18 years of older. So this may be a race where Jennifer may not be able to win just based off the demographics in that particular area. So go ahead, go to the next 107. And sometimes you offer up a candidate sometimes in a race that you don't have someone in, in an area that they may not be able to win. And sometimes they're able to win those races. And that may be the case in Jennifer. Dallas County only truly has two districts that are still, I'm not going to say stronghold Republican, but still strong Republican areas. And that's right along the Dallas County border. And that's one of those particular races. But once you get into the interior and you come south, it's really strong Democrat. I think we're 12-2 here in Dallas County as far as Democrats versus Republicans in Austin, with the possibility of being 13-1 after this year, with it being a redistricting year. So that's another reason to get out and vote, because you could actually redraw that line where you have a 14-0 here in Dallas possible.
Especially with this next race after the 108. We're on 107, Victoria Diego.
Exactly. You guys may have seen her on the Democratic National Convention here the last week. She actually was a spokesperson there on the night that Joe Biden actually spoke. So, she's somebody that's been real active there in Austin. She's making a name for herself. This will be her third time around. So, and she's on the important corrections committee, and she's also on the judicial and civil jurisprudence committee, both of which deal with criminal justice, which is a really good thing to be on those committees, because she's actually in that area where she's able to make decisions regarding justice within Texas. Next week, we'll probably talk about, I think we're talking about judges here in a week or two, I think. And we'll kind of get more into what that judiciary and civil jurisprudence committee kind of does and how they relate back to the courts here in Texas. She's running against Samuel Smith. He's a newcomer to Dallas. District 107 is a heavy Hispanic area. Like I say, I don't see a reason why she's probably not going to lose this particular race, but do your ballot research. Okay. And you go to the next one, 108, please. And like I said, there are 14 districts, so we'll be going to 114. Okay, this is going to be one of the races right here we're really going to have to watch right here, which is 108. This is Joanna Kacinich and Morgan Meyer. This is the race that Ben was talking about that could possibly be flipped right here. There's lots of money coming into this race from both sides. This is probably going to be a $500,000 race right here, which is unheard of for a Texas House race. $500,000 probably on both sides. It's going to probably be $1 million race for this particular office. Wow. So Morgan Meyer is the actual incumbent, but the thing is, the last time this office was offered up, this office was only lost by a matter of less than 100 votes. So this is one of those elections where your vote really does matter in this particular area right here. So
no matter what race you vote in, it matters. And it was less than 200 votes that decided. When Joanna Catnap ran for this race last time, she lost by that many votes.
Exactly. So
we all know 200 people that didn't go vote and that lived in this district in North Dallas, out there by 75, Lovers Lane, even some parts of downtown Dallas that lives in this district and everything.
Right. 200 people walked by the ballot box and didn't vote in this race. So I'm like I say, this is an election right here that I don't want to say we, but could be one on the Democratic side. But like I say, Margaret Meyer, those are some of the committees that he was on. You'll see that he's on the Judiciary and Civil Jurisprudence Committee also. And he's also on the Investigations Committee, which is not doing their job right now because you have a Texas Attorney General that's walking around right now with felony charges who's still in charge, but that's neither here nor there. And he's also on the Public Education Committee, which is a very important committee also. So this could be a seat. And like I say, if the House is flipped, this could be a very important seat in order to reset the way business is done down in Austin. So
I just want to impressed on people that your vote does matter. Even in races such as this, where we're not voting, you could flip a seat or change the dynamics of what goes down in Austin just by participating and taking your sample ballot and doing the research on the information.
Okay. All righty. And District 109, go ahead, 109. Let's kind of speed this up a little bit. I know we're kind of at an hour and a half here. So Carl Sherman, this is going to be down in the DeSoto area right here. He was the first time runner the last time. Those are the committees he was on. He's actually drawn an opponent, Eugene Allen. And you can read a little bit about him down at the bottom. Carl did pretty well his first time down in Austin. He was to be a rookie and to be placed on the Appropriations Committee is really big. Tony Rose was also on that committee. Also, they actually set the budget for the state of Texas. So that's a really important committee, but that's the DeSoto area. This is the DeSoto area, the southern area of Dallas. Those are your two candidates running for your House of Representative position. Go to 110, please.
Yes, sir. Delta Sigma Theta.
All righty. This is Tony Rose. She's running unopposed. She's really becoming a leader down in Austin. Big things are happening around Tony. She got a lot of things pushed through as far as mental health this last time around. She's on the Calendars Committee. Remember, we talked about how big that was. And she's on the Appropriation Committee. And at the bottom, you'll see that she's on the Redistricting Committee. Those are the three of the most powerful committees down in Austin. And she's actually taken a more of a leadership role down in Austin for the Democrats, and as far as being a leader down in Austin. So, like I said, it shows that her current term will be over 2021. She's running unopposed, which is a good thing, I think, so she can concentrate on going back to next year and taking care of business. So Tony Rose is running unopposed. Okay, you can go ahead and go to the next District 111, please. All right, this is Yvonne Davis. She's on the Judiciary and Civil Jurisprudence Committee. She's also on the Transportation Committee here in the Texas House of Representatives. She's run unopposed. She's run unopposed for quite a while here in.
Keep going. Keep going.
She is in 1993.
Next slide.
Next slide. Next slide. Okay, District 112. All righty. These are your individuals running for District 112. This is actually out here in the Richardson area out here. You have Amy Chin Button, and then you have Brady Chambers, who's kind of a newcomer here to Dallas. Just to give you guys a little bit of information, Ben and I actually went to the redistricting when they were talking about not redistricting, but how things will be, the maps will possibly be drawn. And they gave us some interesting information on how the demographics are changing here in Texas. If you guys are familiar with the area around Richardson and the Garland area, there's a high concentration of individuals from Asia who are living in that area now. And Angie is part of that area who's representing the area out there. If you guys don't know, by 2040, it's possible that we may be the fourth, African Americans may be the fourth largest minority in the state, with Hispanics being the largest, whites being second. Currently, we're in third right now. By 2040, because we aren't, having large families anymore, it's possible we could be, the fourth minority here in the state of Texas. We only constitute like 9.2% of the population here in Texas, and it's possible we might be at 8.8 or 8.7 by 2040. So just a little background information, like on District 112. Angie may be unbeatable in that particular area just because of that, but she's the chairman of the Higher Education Committee down in Austin. So, and she's also on Urban Affairs. So just a little information about 112. Like I say, Brandy's new. I don't know much about her. Like I say, with COVID, kind of kept us in a little bit. Couldn't quite get as much information as I would normally get on an individual like that. 113. Okay. This is Retta Bowers. She's out there in the Garland area, Rowlett area. She was formerly, before she took office, she worked for Tony Rose at her office. So she is an individual who was around Austin before she even got down to Austin. So she's an individual who hit the ground running once she got down to Austin. She's part of Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee, which is really good. When we start talking about the courts, we'll talk about the Texas Supreme Court and juvenile justice and how those two committees kind of work together to come up with the laws for juveniles. But she, like I say, she hit the ground running. She's running against a newcomer. It's a guy named Will Douglas. He's a Republican. He's new to the area. He's fresh out of college. He's trying to make a name for himself.
He's an African American as well. I thought he was. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I thought he was also a fundraiser for Trump as well. Is that not true? Or something he was on Trump?
That is true. He did work for the Republican Party for a period of time also. Like I say, he's a newcomer. He's somebody they're sticking in there because that area is largely mixed in the way that they vote out there. I think Retta may have enough to hang on to that particular position, but it's still going to be cognizant on people to get out there and vote out there in that area to make sure that she keeps that area, because it does cover part of Mesquite, which is a little bit more favorable towards her.
And that's the beautiful thing about ballotpedia.com, because you do get the name, you get a picture with the face that goes with the name and what the issues they stand for as well. So I definitely want to promote that site. And Retta Bowers is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta as well.
Right. And Will kind of looks like Daniel Cameron, but as far as his next slide, please.
Next slide.
Okay, this is the last race here in Dallas that we have. This is District 114. John Turner is an incumbent, like I say, and this is the individual who kind of threw a name on the ballot. Since nobody else ran against her, she became the Republican person on the ballot. So I looked her up on Ballotpedia. If you look her up on Ballotpedia, or if you look her up on Texas Tribune, you won't find any information about her. So obviously I left that empty. But he will be returning to those committees, the Appropriations Committee. He's one of the 4 Democrats that was on that committee, and he was also on the Environmental Regulation Committee. So 2 important committees, and hopefully we can get him back down there in that particular area. And that covers Texas, guys. And that's the end of what we were going to talk about tonight. But hopefully we were a little bit informative to kind of give you a little bit of background information on each of the candidates that are running for the House of Representatives. As Ben mentioned earlier, these are 2-year seats, so they'll run. They'll go to Austin this next year. They'll do business, and then they'll have 1 year, and they'll be running again on the ballot. So hopefully that's helpful, guys.
And they will not all be on your ballot because you do not live in all those districts.
Exactly. You will only have one of those individuals in your area, but we felt it was important to cover Dallas and Tarrant so you guys would have the information.
Right.
Ready? Any questions, guys?
That was a very, very good recap. I definitely learned something there as well, and I'm going to be looking to see who's on my ballot, look it up via Ballotpedia. I know we had a couple questions from the chat, so I wanted to make sure we got those before we closed out today. Let's look at this one. Explain the protocol for voters who wait until 11:30 to vote and have to endure long lines. Can poll locations turn them away if they are in line within voting hours, but have not voted by the designated poll closing time?
All right. As long as you're in line at 7 o'clock, unless the governor extends the time period to vote, if you're in line, your election judge will walk to the end of the line and say 7 o'clock, polls are closed, and they'll give some type of indication to the last person in line. That person, the polls won't officially close, or that location won't officially close until that very last person has cast their ballot. So as long as you're in line,
Right.
when it closes at 7 p.m., you will vote.
Right. Like down in Houston here not long ago, you remember there was an individual who did not vote until 12:30 that night. He was in line at 7 o'clock and he did not cross the line until after 12:30 that night. But they cannot close that poll as long as you're at line at 7:00. They cannot close that line, and they have to allow you to vote no matter how long it takes you to get through that line. But let's encourage everybody to get out and early vote so we don't run into that situation. And plus, one thing that Dallas County is doing this year, this is one thing we didn't mention, is you can actually go on to Dallas County elections and they can give you an up-to-date where the polls are the shortest at. So you can actually find out where the shortest lines are for the polls this year. So you can look on there and say, okay, it's 30 minutes at Friendship West, but I can go around the corner up the street a little bit and I can actually get in less than 15 minutes. So that's something that's going to help out a lot, that we will know kind of how the lines are this year and kind of get people moved around if they need to get in the vote and get it done. So
I think for sure it has to be expedient and you can get in there and get out.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they will because I will be there. So,
all right. Next question: does this race affect the electoral college?
you want to take that, Ben, or you want me to answer it?
I'm not that politically astute on it, and the answer to the question is yes. But by all means, please go ahead and take that. And I'll put a plug. If you haven't seen the premiere of Blackish this season, watch the premiere of Blackish. They talk about the Electoral College. They break it down just like they did with the Juneteenth episode. It's very educational and entertaining as one. So check out Blackish, the premiere from this season that just aired this past Sunday. And they talk about voting and the Electoral College. But yes.
And conspiracy theories too. Conspiracy theories.
It absolutely does affect the electoral colleges. In certain states, the popular vote directly affects what happens to the people who vote in the electoral college. And so it is important that you do get out and vote in the elections for your particular candidate for president so they can get the electors to go out and get the electoral college taken care of. Texas is in play, guys. I mean, it really is in play. People don't believe it, but it really is in play. But like I say, it is important, and your vote does count. The popular vote does count, Georgia.
And Texas is not a red state. Texas is not a blue state. It is a low voter turnout state. And the more we can get people to go to the polls and cast their vote and understand that their vote matters, then Texas can be at play, and it doesn't have to necessarily elect the people that they've been electing all the time. And when we went over those races, we talked about 538. You have 100 senators, every state gets 2, and then the 438 representatives. Those are people that choose the Electoral College and who will cast their vote to see who will be your next president of the United States based off the vote, the popular vote in that particular state. So that's why it's so important that we make those connections. When you vote for that senator for 6 years, they're going to choose someone of their political persuasion. When you vote for that United States representative down in D.C., they're going to vote for they're going to put somebody in that place of their political persuasion. So we definitely got to understand that and make sure we're choosing wisely.
Okay.
Right, Pam.
This will be slightly off topic, but if you actually fill out your census, you get to actually make the bring in more representatives. You can have more people in your area.
Absolutely. If you have your census, you put people on the census, and you get the people to fill out the census, your congressional lines are actually, or all of your political lines are drawn based off the numbers that we get for redistricting from the census. So it's very important to get the census numbers up across, all of our areas. Dallas County is still a little bit behind, and we really need to pull those numbers up, if we want to keep our lines the way they are, or even get another seat. Not to mention earlier, like I was talking about when Ben and I went to the redistricting earlier, Collin County could possibly pick up another seat this next time around.
Yes.
Benton County could possibly pick up another seat this time around. So it's important that, that we get out and actually get these census filled out, because like I say, we could have another seat down here below us right here on the Ellis County Johnson line right here. That's possible, just depending on if they get the numbers right and get those numbers in. It's possible we could get another African-American person down there in the Cedar Hill area down there. It's totally possible, just depending on what the census looks like.
And when you say seat, what do you mean? So people can understand, because
okay, what I'm talking about, we could possibly pick up another seat as far as in Texas, as far as a House of Representatives seat. We could actually pick up one seat. The way that they have the number set, they have a certain set number that they base their seats off of. The last time it was like 144,000 people. And every 144,000 people that they circle or they draw a line around, they create a new seat. So whenever your district gets too big, then they have to cut that off and start another one and actually draw that line. Now, based off of who's in office at that particular time, they can either draw that line crooked and put themselves another seat in there, or you could draw it another way and put another person in there. So it just depends on who's in charge when the census is done, which is this election right here, because whoever wins this election controls redistricting in 2021.
And that's what happens when African Americans don't fill out their census or don't see the importance of it. We're not able to bring the resources back to the community. We're cooperating with voter suppression, that we don't have representatives and everything that can represent us because we're not being counted. So if you have not done your census, it has been extended to October the 31st. Please tell people to complete that census, less than 5 minutes, answer those questions so we can get the political representation as we talk about economic expansion, economic opportunity, political representation. It's a holistic approach of the community.
And in the same way, if people aren't filling out their census, but that line has to be drawn another way. So what your district looks like now may not be the same way it looks next year if people don't fill out their census, because they have to get up to that number that's set, that 144 that's set.
And it may not look different because you didn't get out there and go vote.
Exactly.
So house districts matter. So get out there and go vote.
And if you haven't completed your census, like Brother Jackson said, the deadline has been extended to October 31st, and you can complete that at 2020census.gov.
Ready.
Have we covered everything?
Yeah, I think we have covered everything for today's agenda. So just as a recap, we talked about a good amount of voting tips, including, of course, early voting from starting October 13th through the 20th, making sure that, all of your polling locations will be safe. You definitely can bring your own PPE. They will have that provided if necessary. Be aware that you can vote anywhere within your organized county. If you are voting by mail, which we do understand there are people who will be doing that, just please do it as soon as possible, because we know there's been issues with the Postal Service. We do know that there has been availability of curbside voting to just make sure that if you do not physically appear into a polling location, but can drive yourself there, there will be some curbside voting within your necessary necessary counties. Just as a reminder, we will be doing this PNL live with conjunction with the DFW Alpha chapters for the next 2 weeks. So as today, we talked about U.S. senators, U.S. Congress, and state representatives. Next Tuesday, on October 13th, same platform, same time, 7:06 p.m., we will talk about all things court. So Texas Supreme Court, Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, judicial courts, criminal and criminal district courts as well. And then we'll also get into some of the policy platforms when we think about 8 Can't Wait, local police reform, the Crown Act, which is statewide, the George Floyd bill, which is on the federal level, as well as the John Lewis voting rights bill, which is also on the federal level. So we'll be talking about some more of those platforms on the next couple of episodes, as well as where we find some of these candidates stand on those different platforms that we'll be supporting.
Yes, and if you would like to, as we said earlier, do your own research on some of these positions, you can check out what's on your ballot at ballotpedia.org. So please, please, please visit that website and you can check out who's on your ballot and exactly what your ballot will look like on election day.
Any other final comments, brothers?
Great job, brothers.
I can't stress enough that the views represented today are not the views of Alpha Phi Incorporated or Alpha Sigma Lambda chapter, but they are my own personal views. Many of these people have been in these spaces, in these circles I've met personally. Retta Bowers, Joanna Katanak, a lot of Tony Rose, a lot of these politicians. And it's so important that we get engaged in this space because they're going to make decisions that affect our lives on a daily basis. So I can't encourage you enough to definitely do the research, follow these tips, and get out there, and most of all, vote, vote, vote.
Before we depart, we will be sending out a lot of this information via our social media platforms. As far as the Ronald Lambda chapter, you can follow us at P&L Alphas on Instagram or our Facebook page, which you are now tuned in right now at Road New Lambda Alphas on Facebook. I'll pass it over to Alpha Sigma Lambda. What are your social media tags?
All platforms of social media is Dallas Alphas. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter as well. And thank you, Roland Lambda, for this platform. I think it's an awesome thing that you all are doing and educating the community. And it's a great partnership showing that the brothers are all together to educate the people on the bogus people as always.
Thank you for that, Brother Jackson. We're going to kick it over to Zata Lambda. Can we get your social media tags?
Yeah, it's going to be North Dallas Alphas. And then you can also follow all the brothers across the Metroplex via the DFW Alphas platform. Kudos again to Road New Lambda for putting this black platform for all the brothers to come together.
Thank you for that, Brother Whitaker. We're going to kick it over to Beta Tau Lambda in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth Alphas. Pretty simple. Following the stream like everybody else. Fort Worth Alphas.
Appreciate that, Brother.
Let me say it again. Fort Worth Alphas. Y'all can laugh. We're going to keep saying it. We're going to keep saying it because we know it's
I love it. I love it.
We appreciate that, Brother Rivers. And last but not least, we're going to kick it over to Arlington for New Pi Lambda.
Arlington Alphas. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Arlington Alphas.
All right, and as Brother Whitaker said, you can find all 5 chapters represented at DFW Alphas on Instagram. We appreciate you, brothers, for joining us tonight. We appreciate all of the information that went out, and we hope all of our viewers learned something from this live. And if you would like to get any information from this live or just ask any questions for this live, feel free to drop them in the Road New Lambda Alphas page, or you can email us at roadnewlambda@gmail.com.
All right. With that being said, I want to thank each and every one of the brothers that joined us tonight. This gave us insightful information as well as conversation. We will be continuing this part 2 next Tuesday, October 13th, the first day of early voting. We'll be back here, same Alpha channel, same Alpha time at 7:06 p.m. Until then, see y'all next time.
Be safe, guys.